Let me read to you a passage from the 25th chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel, verses 14 to 30. It's the Gospel for Saturday of the 21st week of Ordinary Time. St. Matthew writes, Jesus told his disciples this parable. A man going on a journey called in his servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to a third 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. Immediately the one who received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5. Likewise the one who received 2 made another 2. But the man who received 1 went off and dug a hole in the ground and buried his master's money. After a long time the master of those servants came back and settled accounts with them. The one who had received 5 talents came forward bringing the additional 5. He said, Master, you gave me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more. His master said to him, Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you are faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share your master's joy. Then the one who had received 2 talents also came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more. His master said to him, Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you are faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share your master's joy. Then the one who had received the 1 talent came forward and said, Master, I knew you were a demanding person, harvesting where you did not plant, and gathering where you did not scatter. So out of fear I went off and buried your talent in the ground. Here it is back. His master said to him in reply, You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I did not plant, and gather where I did not scatter? Should you not then have put my money in the bank, so that I could have got it back with interest on my return? Now then, take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And throw this useless servant into the wilderness, the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. That's from Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 30. We are led to think of the judgment. On one occasion, our Lord, having been accused of violating the Sabbath by curing someone on the Sabbath day, said that his Father is ever at work, and therefore so is he. St. John tells us that thereupon the Jews took up stones to stone him because he not only broke the Sabbath but spoke of God as his very own Father, thus making himself equal to God. This was one of many statements by our Lord that revealed his own divine nature, but it also tells us something of the Father. It tells us that the Father is a worker. He is ever at work, and therefore the Son is ever at work. We ought look on God, the Holy Trinity, as actively at work in creation and in the sanctification of his creatures. God is very enterprising. We see in the work of creation, and especially in the work of the redemption of the world from sin, a mighty undertaking in process. God strains every nerve, as we might put it, to achieve his goals for us. There is nothing he is not prepared to do to attain our good. If we wish to be his true and worthy children, we must strive to be like him, just as in his work too, our Lord stated to his critics that he was constantly doing as his Father did. Being like God means being compassionate and merciful, as our Lord says elsewhere. It also means that we be people who work and strive to achieve our goals, those goals should be done for him. Our Lord tells his disciples, in the gospel passage I read from Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30, a parable of the master going away on a long journey and entrusting his property to them. He expected them to put what he gave them to work and to produce, each according to his ability. That is an image of life. We have been entrusted with responsibilities, and we are expected to fulfill those responsibilities and bear fruit for the master, each according to our ability. The parable teaches that the master detests laziness. But our Lord's parable is especially directed, it would seem, to the ordinary man of very ordinary abilities and circumstances. The center of attention is the one who was entrusted with only 1 talent. The one who received the 5 talents got to work immediately and made 5 more, and the one given the 2 immediately set to work and made 2 more. But the one who received the 1 did nothing with it at all. He did not even think of at least depositing it in the bank and so gaining some interest on it, and in the process at least covering its depreciation. He was lazy and refused to put himself out, so he lost everything, was thrown out into the darkness. All this is to say that it is not enough to say to God that I haven't done any positive harm. God will be asking me what positive good I have done. He will be wanting to see how I have advanced his interests in the world and how I have served to give greater glory and honor to him. No matter how little a person I am in the eyes of others, God expects me to be enterprising for him. He expects me to work and to work for him in everything I do, no matter how ordinary my deeds may seem. Moreover, the concentration in the parable on the little man, on the one with 1 talent only, helps to alert us to the great importance that God places on the ordinary person. Imagine what a difference to the world would be made if that sleeping giant, everyman, as we might call him, were to rise from his slumber to serve God. Imagine the difference if all the little persons, millions of them in every generation, took their ordinary vocation with great seriousness. There are Christians teaching at university, in politics, in the professions, at the workbench, in the trades, and so many of them do little to bear witness to the truth of Jesus. We could say that Christ will only be brought to the heart of the world if the ordinary man takes up the challenge and makes it par excellence the work of his life. Think of what difference to the world the mighty rivers have made. The Tigris, the Euphrates, the Amazon, and others. But those rivers are made up of countless drops, are they not? The drops all together make up the river. Each of those little drops may be taken as a symbol of the little person. Let us reflect on today's parable in chapter 25 of Matthew, verse 14 to 30, and think of the judgment on our work in life that awaits us. Let us take seriously and gratefully the work in life that God has given us, and ask him to help us be enterprising and never to give up on it. Where God has placed us, that is our field of work for him until he calls us elsewhere. But we are just little people. Ah, yes. If we have been given but 1 talent, let us put it to work. It is very important to God.